Shalom, shalom, and namaste. This is one of your hosts for the Force Principle podcast, Kareem Kazaki Ben Adonai.
And I'm Yazakar Ben Adonai.
Seafood Mike, Katana Ichiban.
All right.
Gang, how y'all brothers doing today?
Doing good.
Perfect. Hey man, it was hard
You ain't mad?
to start freestyling doing your intro.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I had it going on in my car today. I had my son with me. He was like, "Yeah, I got to get this beat," but it's all good.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Real quick for anybody that's listening, we're kind of like working out some bugs and some issues. So if you want to let us know how we sound on the live, we're actually Bluetooth into our podcaster. So let us know in the comments. Go ahead.
What's today's topic?
Today's topic is going to be religion, spirituality, and the family structure. And the subtopic is traditional values and contemporary ideas. Where do we land with those today?
Mhm.
All right.
Good one.
Yeah,
I know everybody got something, perspective on how they see this, especially since the past few weeks we've been talking about religion, spirituality, tradition, non-traditional, and we can see how it affects us now.
right.
So it's kind of like it's a segue that is like progressing conversation. So let's talk about traditional values.
Mm.
And I guess the question would be, well, individually, what do you think traditional values are? Traditional values and or beliefs.
What it is for today?
Well, to you,
Well,
what it is to you, not today, but we'll get to that. But what does it mean when you
Today.
hear that to you?
Wow. To me, it sounds like a structure that's based on whatever ideas you have in a religious or spiritual context. It really depends on how you move throughout with your main family and without your family and the rest of the people around you, your neighbors, people you meet each and every day.
Okay.
What you got? What you still think?
Well, no, for me, I don't really think there's a difference between modern and traditional values. I think that's blurred by time itself. My personal opinion.
Okay.
I think traditional values were modern during the time of their them being traditional. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So for me, it's blurred by time. What's
Right.
called tradition and what's called modern.
Okay.
Okay. When I think about traditional values, or spirituality and family structure, I think of a lot of times I look at culture,
Right.
and that's gonna vary, especially in the United States, and we are dealing with the West, with it's a smorgasbord of different cultures, different peoples. So when we talk about tradition, I think it's gonna be very unique to depending on what culture you come from. Whether you're Chinese, Indian, um, Nigerian, uh, Italian, et cetera, et cetera. But I did do some research, and um, I know as far as religions go, United States is what? Let me see, 73.7%, at least as of 2016,
You said Christianity.
Christianity.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have all the different denominations of that.
Right.
So it kind of goes back to the conversation we had about 2 weeks ago about the United States being predominantly, quote unquote, Christian in a lot of the ideologies that it claims to uphold.
Right.
So I guess it'll open up as we continue the discussion.
Right.
But my thoughts is it's going to really be based on each particular groupings, and then that's going to get, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Clouded as we progress into now,
Right.
because of like all the cultural melding and the cultural mixing,
Right.
if you want to call it that, because the United States would be a melting pot.
Right.
So it'll open up, but I like I said, I think about it depends on who I'm talking about specifically.
Right. Right. And a lot of things that they do differently when it comes to traditional and non-traditional in
Right.
each culture, or if you want to say a religious base. You know, they do a lot of eating properly in certain religions or traditions.
Well, that's relative.
Right. And, you know, here in America or United States, if it's ruled by a Christian base, you know, it's not like that. It's, you know, you can eat whatever you want to eat.
That depends on the Christianity.
And that depends on Christianity, because I know some Christians that don't eat certain things,
Right.
and they stick to certain scripture laws or what have you.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So let me read something real quick. It says Christianity is the most widely professed religion in the United States, with Protestantism begins its largest branch, although the country has rapidly secularized in recent years. According to the World Values Survey in 2017, the United States is more secular than the median country. They ranked the United States the 32nd least religious country in the world. Least.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. A large variety of the faiths have historically flourished within the country. So a large variety of faiths have historically flourished within the country. Until the 1990s, the United States was a substantial outlier among other highly developed countries, uniquely combining a high level of religiosity and wealth. Although this has lessened significantly since according to Gallup and Pew, 81 to 90% of Americans believe in a higher power.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
While according to Gallup, 45% reporting praying on a daily basis and 41% is reporting that religion plays a very important role in their lives. A majority of Americans report seldom or never attending religious services. 31% report attending religious services weekly or near weekly. Trust the church or organized religion has declined significantly since the 1970s. And again, according to the Pew Research Center and Gallup, 21 to 29% of Americans describe themselves as not being affiliated with a religion.
Right.
A spectrum ranging from materialistic forms of hard atheism to indifference to religion to forms of spirituality that deviate from or do not involve participation in traditional organized religious structures. What's your thoughts on that? I know I said a lot.
No, you pretty much said the church has failed us, and I agree.
That's what it sounds like. I would say this: failed the ones who subscribe to it.
Right. And I mean, that's the only ones it really could affect.
Right.
But
Fail.
the generation that we're in right now, their parents don't adhere to the church structure like our parents did. So what we're talking about is our children. And because of our generation coming up during the time of, I would say personally for myself, hip hop's explanation of the church and where it fit with us.
Right.
Our understanding of it, we pulled out of church.
Right.
And
Right.
once we pulled out of church, there wasn't that example for our children
Right.
to adhere to the structure of church like our parents did
Right,
for
did.
us, so
Right.
to speak.
Right.
So we can actually say it's our generation.
1 second. They said I'm seeing that the only person they can hear right now is me. So
They can't hear
let's
me.
do a mic check.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Mic
I'm
check.
pretty sure they can hear me. I can hear myself.
I can hear myself too.
I
but
don't
it's
know how
kinda
long. I
low.
don't know how long ago it was when
Oh, okay. But I think we should be good.
mic check, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
1 2 1 2.
Can't hear this gentleman at all. Can only hear you really. You might want to check the mics again.
They up. I know my mic up.
Mic check. Mic check.
His might
Yeah,
be
my
low.
volume is all the way up. And I don't hear him.
You don't hear him?
Uh-uh.
Let's see. Should be good. Everything's in. Talk a little firmer in the mic. Mic.
Mic check. Mic check.
You can't hear her? I
mean,
can hear her.
I'm hard of hearing, but
What mic, what headphone you got?
you'll probably be able to.
I think you got two.
Okay, Crystal, can you hear Zocane?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Me? Me?
Give it a little. I think it's like a little delay.
Okay. Mic check.
Said, can't hear green shirt at all.
Solid green shirt.
Green shirt.
It's
Okay.
it's interesting. You got on green. I got on green. So
Right. Well, we
That's
all got on green.
yeah, wow. Right. We didn't plan this, y'all.
No, we didn't. Whoops. Got all these windows open. So, because she texted me and then she went back to the.
Right. I'm gonna turn.
She said good.
It's good.
So, is it good for everybody?
Mic check.
Do it again, Mike.
Mic check.
I can hear you now.
I'm gonna have to check that mic because I got that one kind of up a little bit more. than
Well, I
the rest.
did kind of. I don't know.
Okay, you good now? I think you can,
Yeah, I could hear him. I could
Mic
hear you
check.
now. You might have to say all that again.
or just turn the mic a little bit more to you.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Jura said good.
All right, let's go.
So we good, everybody? We good? Let me get thumbs up from everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you gonna ask your question again? You're gonna read
I,
it.
I guess I have to read it all over again. Do I have to read it all over again, everybody?
Oh boy.
I don't think you have to.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of thumbs up.
Okay, good.
They said we good now.
All right, good. good.
Let go. Yes, say it again. That's my sister. All right,
All
sis.
right, go ahead.
Denzel is on his way, y'all.
Okay,
7
gang.
minutes out.
All right.
I don't know when he sent that.
All right.
all right. So I was reading a survey, right? So the most popular religion in the United States is Christianity, comprising the majority of the population, 73.7% of adults as of 2016, with the majority of American Christians belonging to a Protestant denomination or a Protestant offshoot, such as Mormonism or the Jehovah's Witness. Christianity, with Protestantism being its largest branch, although the country has rapidly secularized, in recent years, according to the World Values Survey in 2017, the United States is more secular than the median country. They rank the United States as the 32nd least religious country in the world. A large variety of faiths have historically flourished within the country. Until the 1990s, the United States was a substantial outlier amongst other highly developed countries, uniquely combining a high level of religiosity and wealth. Although this has lessened significantly since, according to the Gallup and Pew, 81 to 90% of Americans believe in a higher power while according to Gallup, 45% reporting praying on a daily basis and 41% reporting that religion plays a very important role in their lives. A majority of Americans report seldom or never attending religious services. 31% report attending religious services weekly or near weekly. Or they trust in the church or organized religion has declined significantly since the 1970s. According to the Pew Research Center and Gallup, 21 to 29% of Americans describe themselves as not being affiliated with a religion, a spectrum ranging from materialistic forms of hard atheism to indifference to religion to forms of spirituality that deviate from or do not involve participation in traditional organized religious structures. And we'll stop there. I have more charts, but we'll stop there and we'll segue back to what you were saying.
Okay. Again, what I was saying was, in a nutshell, what you said is the church failed us. And again, I'll say it was our generation when we were children, we were teenagers, adolescents. Church was part of the family structure. You went to church on Sundays.
Right.
If you came up like I did, you went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Right.
So, but what happened and what replaced it was hip hop. We started listening to older gentlemen give an alternative to what was wisdom or wise teachings, I would say. So inside of that structure, we heard older gentlemen and women say that there were other alternatives than the church. And we kind of chose that. So now that we pulled out of the church structure, our children, this generation, don't have that template to follow. So I would see it changing the numbers. Ironically, you said the 70s, that's the birth time of hip hop. So I would say from the 20-year span of 1970 to 1990 would have been that most influential time coming from inner city music to the black community and to other communities also, where you would see a change in the religious structure in the household.
Right.
So I would attribute it to hip hop,
Right.
and our generation and some other things. Well, I wait.
I did not see it going that way. I just parked a whole bunch of other thoughts in my head.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm gonna agree, right, on that basis, because a lot of hip hop, once you got into the hip hop scene, it was almost like you started to become conscious of other things. So when these rappers or MCs come in and all this other stuff come in, they start to read more books instead of just this one book. A lot of MCs at that time, they were going to college,
Right.
so they had certain knowledges.
Right.
So they would bring it back to the community and say, "Hold on, look at this, y'all." And then once everybody starting to hang around in hip hop, man,
It's worldwide.
it's worldwide and it's attractive because I know it was attractive to me. I mean, I could give a whole list of things how I understood hip hop. I'm gonna tell you, like they used to say, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
Okay.
I fell in love with hip hop when I heard Planet Rock, the song,
Okay.
and I was hooked. I was anything else you couldn't tell me anything about. And I used to love R&B. I used to listen to rock music, heavy metal.
Right.
But once hip hop hit, oh no, I won't. You can't tell me anything anymore.
Hey, for those of you listening, he's a DJ.
Right.
Which makes
And
sense.
right.
Which makes sense for the Planet Rock too.
Yeah. So when that happened, yeah, I was still going to church with my grandmother, but at a point it stopped.
Right.
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 Ooh, I got goosebumps. So would you all say that hip hop is a catalyst or a medium
I'll say it's a
for
I'm
say again?
sorry. I would say it's a religion.
Ooh, It could because it's cultural.
I
There's
was
certain
gonna
things in it that you have to do. It's a dress code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the way you talk, a little slang. Um, and you know, it's a lot of people don't know. Some of the younger people may not know. It's you know, it's like other elements to hip hop. It's just not rap music.
Right.
You know, and DJing
Right.
is you know break dance. It was break dancing,
Dancing.
graffiti,
Right.
you know, stuff
Art,
like that.
artwork. If you want to,
artwork.
yeah, right. Okay.
So those are the things. So a lot of those things, once you in the community, and then you walking down the street, especially in you could say in New York, it's a plethora of other ideas other than Christianity.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that being said, right. So we're going from a country who at least likes to pride itself on being formulated by what we consider Western Christianity.
Right.
We'll use that term, Western Christianity. You know, it's adopted it, and in itself, Christianity has taken many forms. Protestantism, you know, Mormonism. You still have Catholicism and all the different Southern Baptist, Lutheran, all these things.
Right.
So you get this, we get to the 70s now, and then this thing happens. You have a culture. So let's talk about ideally what, from the perspective of culture goes, growing up in a Christian household. I think you laid a foundation is Sunday,
Right.
I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday,
Right.
so on and so forth. And
Right.
how do you think, before we get to, could use the word fail, and I'm not going to really touch on that yet, but before we get to that point, how do you see that benefiting us? Or did it benefit us? That cultural structure at that time period and before?
That was a structure. Anytime you got any kind of structure, it's a good thing. But then you have the anomaly, you have the agitation, the movement,
Mm.
so to speak.
Right.
You're in church and you've been in Sunday service for 3 hours. You're riding home in the car, and then you hear a child was born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. That
Yeah.
strikes.
Right.
That strikes
Right.
somewhere you like, wait a minute. Now what's this?
Right.
And then it's something that you're familiar with. You know, my father always made sure that my family had, but when it came to an environment, our situation was our situation. We went from inner city straight to suburbia.
Right.
So that right there in itself was a culture shock also. But like I said, just being plugged into what we know today as inner city New York hip hop, being a young child in down South Virginia,
Right.
you like, wait a minute.
Right. What's this?
Right.
You know.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, the lyrics they struck at the soul. They
Right.
struck at the heart chakra.
And-
You felt them.
Right. And see, and when this happens, you have family that's in New York.
Right.
They have, you know, I have
Right. They
a
the
guy,
cousins
you
that
know,
come
my
down
cousins
for the
that come
cookout
down.
for the summer.
Yo, they playing this,
Right.
and now
Right.
they bringing something else.
Man, what you got on? What you wearing?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
all
Okay.
the way around. Even when you're talking about Christianity or whatever, it's something different coming in.
Right.
Hold up, bro. You still believe? They ask you, yo,
Right.
you believe in that? What?
Right.
Hold on, bro. Let me give you this book.
The brothers from Harlem, they got the soapbox preachers. They
Yeah,
got
right.
the Puerto Ricans on the block, 125th. That's Santeria, Lucame culture. You
Right.
got the Nation of Islam.
Right.
You got
Five
all those
percenters.
different 5%ers, all those different schools of thought.
Hebrew
So,
Israelites.
Hebrew Israelites,
Right.
all of that was influential and started coming through the frequency of the radio,
Okay.
the airwaves.
All right. So again, y'all painting the picture because y'all really moving us forward. But I guess, okay, let me throw something in there.
Okay.
So a little bit older, a few years older than me.
Mhm.
I didn't experience that.
Right.
I experienced that later in the 80s when I came to the States. I'm from Antigua,
Right.
Caribbean. Shout out. So when I came in like 80s, 88, it was already on the move.
Right.
And I was still listening to Boy George and
Right.
Cyndi Lauper
Right,
and all
right.
that other stuff, because that in the islands we listen to everything.
So were
Right.
we.
Yeah,
You know,
we did. Right.
and hip hop didn't hit us till, to my knowledge, later.
Right.
At least it didn't hit me till I came here.
Right.
So for me, it was like my background is very Christian. As far as my family, when I came to the States, I attended a Catholic church. I went to what they call it little church, which is where the children, they learn how to do the epistle and all the Eucharist,
Right,
all these
right.
different things. And then after that, you go to big church. That's one side. I attended Nazarene. You know, man, I can't remember some.
Let me-
That's getting into concepts of like, you know, we're physical beings, having a physical experience, or spiritual beings having a physical experience, and a lot of us get caught up. Most of us, let me just say a lot, get caught up most in the physicality. So when we deal with the physicality, we deal with the five senses. I'm talking fast because it's a lot trying to unwind out of my head, and we get through the ego or the persona, we get attached to a lot of things.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like family, friends, organizations,
Right.
our job, our career, our team, my team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So or my fraternity, you know,
Hey, shout out to the good
my,
bros.
my assembly, you know, all these
Right.
all these
Yeah.
different things, and these are all the it's not a good or bad thing. It just is what it is.
Right.
You know, you work it out as you have a, you know, you go through life. But yes, we do get into ownership of things that we know are only temporal. It's human nature.
All right, possessive.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that comes from the creator, though, instilling that into us. It's
Okay.
possessive,
Okay.
right?
I think it's an aspect of it
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
until you're not. You're possessive until you're not. If you ever get to that point.
I feel like this conversation about to switch over to something. I want to stay on subject. I was good. Okay.
But what I was saying, going back to your point, is like, yes, you're correct. It is your mother. You know what I mean? It is my daughter or somebody's son or whatever the case may be. But depending on who you are, you may get to a place where you realize we're all on borrowed time and everything returns to where it came from. You know what I mean? And when you
Right.
get to that place, you know, you may come to a term of peace and understanding that, like, listen, nothing really belongs to me.
I get you.
Right.
I get you.
So was it? So
You about
Was
ask
you
a
supposed-
paradox.
so
Right.
so it's almost like, so were you supposed to have a religious idea like that?
When you say like that, what do you mean? Like confined, like a strict.
Let me say the dogma inside it, because certain things in there I understand what is exactly how I would explain certain things. Now they may not explain it like I would explain
Right.
it, but I would say certain dogmas inside of those structures may not what you're supposed to do.
I would say everything is there for a reason.
Mm.
And sometimes we may be privy to the reason, like if you're the priest or
Right.
you know, what the Jews would say through Mishnah, or
Right.
you know, Africa would say through the griots. It's something that may be known by a certain specific group of people, which may be to protect the masses that they don't share with the masses. And it could be they either know and maintain it over periods of time, or they may
Right.
actually lose some of the actual meaning and it becomes controlling.
Right.
Now, if there is a creator that I believe in, you know, and I'm not pushing that on anybody, that I'm just saying that I believe in, then I believe that at some point in time, based on your dedication and commitment to whatever it is that you're in, and I can't tell somebody, depending on their sincerity and what they are trying to do as far as know the creator, I think you'll be given, if you want to say understanding, that will either get you to understand what these things are and or what they're not. Does that make sense? So you may, I don't want to say surpass, but you may come to a point where these things that were put there for a specific reason, they may not apply to you anymore for you.
Right.
It's not about everybody else. They may need it because we all, again, like we said in the previous weeks, we all have our own learning curve.
Right. And I think you can attest to all four of us. Probably
Right.
we were all in Christianity. I would say, right? Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So I
would
don't know.
say-
I don't know when.
I would
each
say I'm
person
still a
came
Christian.
out.
I'm sorry.
Oh well,
You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
I would say
gotcha.
I'm still a Christian, but not the way somebody expect me to be as a Christian.
right. Got you.
But
Right.
do you really know what someone else expects you to be as a Christian?
I know when they. I know when they're.
question.
Oh, I
The-
thought you. Go ahead.
The priest you mentioned, and you mentioned the differences in the dogmas, but some have intentionally polluted the dogmas. It's not just forgetting. It's not just not adding the things that should have been added. Some have polluted the dogma for personal gain.
Mm.
And that has reached the Black church, the Catholic church, the Ifa temple, everything you could possibly name. The priest had the power to pollute because the rulers of society had priests.
Mm.
So when you look at great rulers, like let's take Shaka Zulu.
Right.
We're looking at someone who was very, very lackluster when it came to religion. And it doesn't mean he didn't believe in a creator. If you
Right.
read his poetry, his literature, he believed in a creator. But he also understood that the priesthood could be polluted. And
Right.
everybody in a society looks to the priesthood.
Right. Right.
And what happened in our communities was our youth started seeing the other side. Not to segue, back into
Right.
what we originally were talking about, but they were hearing this opposition of culture, of religion
Right.
that was coming out of the airwaves. And it was constantly saying something different. It was exposing us to cultures. I'm not even going to go to a religious culture. I'll just say New York, like you said earlier.
Mhm.
Once they started talking about what he saw the crack vials.
Right.
He was in New York.
Right.
He saw, he's talking about the era where crack ran rampant. Now, I wouldn't be so foolish to say that crack was not running rampant in down South Virginia.
Right.
But what wasn't happening was a slew of artists coming out of Virginia who were rapping about it over the airways. That was coming out of Brooklyn, Harlem, or the five boroughs, period.
Right.
And out of Miami. Then in the 1990s, we had the
South.
NWA,
Right.
the
Oh yeah,
South.
the West
the West Coast.
Coast. Then the-
Right. So
right.
we were able to be plugged into drug culture, gang culture, and all the while we're sitting on the front pew
Right.
with someone else telling us
Right.
this is the way to structure yourself
Right.
for success and prosperity. And
Mhm.
we like, wait a minute. That's
Yeah.
not really what's happening.
Right.
Those guys weren't our heroes, so to speak. We
Right.
started to look up to the guys who were giving us the truth, so to speak,
Mhm.
because we felt that the priesthood
Right.
wasn't giving us the truth.
Right. Right.
Okay. You asked a question initially, and then you said a lot. What was the question that you asked? Because I was trying to hold it.
It's something about preluding. It's like,
Polluting the priesthood.
oh no,
Nah,
no,
it
no.
wasn't
He said, how do others know you're a Christian, or like something to
Oh, right,
that
you asked-
aspect?
Right.
Like,
That was
Oh yeah. Right.
How
That
do you know
wasn't
what somebody
directed.
expects?
right,
Yeah.
but that wasn't directed at anybody.
Okay,
I'm
but-
just saying, like, how do you know what a person expects of you as a Christian? Some expect you to go to church. Some expect you not to curse. Some expect you not to drink. When you really get typical in the Black church, women couldn't wear pants. Some couldn't wear makeup. Some were looked down and frowned upon because they wore jewelry. You couldn't go to you couldn't be in the club on Saturday. Then they see you on Sunday in church. It was all these different expectations of what a Christian should and shouldn't be.
Right.
So what I'm saying, with that initial question of what I was asking was, when you said I'm still a Christian not by what others would expect me to be as a Christian.
Right.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, how I can't put you in that box. How can someone else put you in that box and say, well, he's a Christian because of, or he's not a Christian because of? So I guess that's really
Right.
it was more of a statement,
You're
in
you're
a
right.
question form.
I
You're
got
right,
you.
because they have a statement that's in the Christian church. If you don't believe this,
Right,
no, you're not a Christian.
right. And you get,
And that's on, their
right. And
idea-
I'm
idea.
I'm a product of that, which is why I made that statement, because to me,
Likewise.
the epitome of a Christian was my mother.
Mm.
Okay.
I mean, walking a path that I knew was the straight path, because I saw her at 3 a.m. in her studies. I saw her go through her ups and downs, but at the same time, she was still a woman and she was still my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tapped her emotions, you might hear her you might hear her lose her sanctification,
Right.
they
Gotcha.
would say.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I
but
got you. I
at the
understand.
same time, she was the one that would minister in the streets authentically.
Right.
I mean, young teenage boys, young teenage girls, she would pick up and have Bible study at random hours.
Right.
And the kids would flock to listen to her talk because of her presentation. So to me, that was the epitome of the Christian. But at the same time, I would see her say, I'm not going outside and working in my garden in no skirt,
Right.
and I'm going to wear the clothes I want to wear.
Right.
So I saw her define for herself what was Christianity.
Right.
So again, like I said, to go back to what I said, I wouldn't put you in a box to say, I can't tell you how to identify yourself,
Right.
but
Mm.
to say by another person's standards, not to be disrespectful, but I really don't think that matters.
Okay. And right. I agree with everything you said. It's just that the perspective I was coming from was more of, I am that to whoever needs me to be that,
Correct.
as far as how I function in Christianity.
Correct.
So the person that would say, well, you don't do this, this, and this, and this, that's their business. That
Right.
it's a statement that I hold on that you say, and you think you got it from your grandmother. Is, what you eat don't make me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's irrelevant to that person, but it's
Right.
to the person that sees something in me that wants to come and have that discourse to where we
Right.
share with each other.
Right.
And I think maybe each one of us has a story. Like my
Oh, yeah.
grandmother,
No doubt.
grandmother was the epitome of the Christian woman, and she
Right.
was, from my definition, very stern.
Right.
You know, it's not like, hey, grandma, how you doing? She'd be like, hey, good afternoon. You read your Bible today?
Right.
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 Well, grandma, you don't want to know how I'm feeling or what's going on in my life? And,
Right.
well,
It's the structure.
it's just a structure.
Right.
And I'm one of the oldest of my siblings and my cousins
Mhm.
that I guess would be first gen Americans.
Right.
So they saw it more as, I'm not going over there. I don't really, they were kind of turned off by it because she used to hammer, she believed in Jesus.
Right.
And that was her love, of her way of giving love and sharing her love, because she knew love through Jesus.
Right.
So coming back to the family structure, I feel like she really, even in that, she really kept a lot of us together. You know what I mean?
Right.
My uncles had to take, they took care of her when we came to the States. When my mom came, came to Florida anyway.
Right.
It was a family thing.
Right.
So again, the hip hop, going back to the hip hop, oh man, it's
You didn't even think about that, did you?
no, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. it's-
And now I'm realizing it's a big catalyst, because what it's
Yes.
done is, I think Sifu kind of mentioned it, is like, well, what you're saying is traditional. It's traditional now. It's just a different form.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
what hip hop has done is taken us. from a solidified, if you want to say solidified box, because it's going to be loose depending on the racial grouping, culturals, and so on and so forth, to more of a fluidity,
Right.
to where, you know, I'm a Christian, but I do have Muslim values and
Yeah.
Hindu. And when I say
Buddhist.
me, yes, me, but I'm saying I've met other people like that.
Right.
Like I'm a, you know,
Right.
I've met Ethiopian, if you want to say Christians, that pointed me to India
Right.
for information.
Right.
So it's like, you could take it from a martial arts perspective. When we watched,
Facts.
what was that? He wouldn't learn the other style. He kept
Yes.
going after Priest Pa May with the
Yes.
one style,
Yes.
And it didn't work.
and it didn't work. You hear that? The one style
Did not work.
did not work for him.
He trained for 30 years.
30 years.
Right.
So think about that from a religious perspective.
Right.
You're looking at
It didn't work.
the unnameable, unfathomable, unperceivable from one perspective.
Right.
In one box with all this dogmatic trimmings,
Right.
and denouncing everybody else that has a perspective from a different way.
Right.
And look at their cultures. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cultures got devastated by, I keep it blanket, other religions.
Religions. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
By not developing
Right.
Right.
or not evolving
Mm.
or looking at the other perspective, regardless of your own perspective. See, some think I have to let go my base just to listen to your I wouldn't even say base foundations, because when it comes to religion, the base foundations are pretty much the same,
Mm.
which is why hip hop became our Christ. Now, follow me when I say this.
Mm-hmm.
It was very revolutionary, and it turned sons against mothers and daughters against fathers.
Facts.
Ooh.
Facts.
Say it again. Say it again.
Facts. Let me go, hold your thought. And remember, he said I used to DJ, and
I said you still a DJ.
well, I still could do it. At that time when I started in the 80s. I mean, I had my first turntables when I was probably about 15 years old. I bought them myself. My mom didn't buy them. I had to go buy them. If I wanted to DJ, I had to get it. But I would play hip hop because that's who I was playing music for.
Right.
Was the people in my age range.
Right.
So the family finds out I DJ.
Right.
They want me to do the fan reunion. Oh, I don't know nothing but hip hop right now.
Right.
So I'm playing that. Ain't nobody, the older folks ain't really dancing, but they like to dance because they from the 70s and
Right.
the 60s. So, they still got their boogie.
Right.
They want to hear that too.
Right.